Okie doke, we're gonna try this. I miss you, I hope you're doing well. We are gonna talk about vertex form of a quadratic today. It is just another equation. Remember that we'd been looking at y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, or f of x equals ax squared plus bx plus c. Those guys are the same exact things, just y and f of x are different, okay? Today, with this vertex form, we're going to get f of x, or y equals. A is going to be on the outside of our parenthesis, and as I'm looking, I'm noticing I forgot to do the x minus h quantity squared plus k. And notice that I put a, h, and k in different colors. Those are the guys that are going to change. Those guys are going to be replaced by numbers. A eventually is going to do something with dilating. H is going to move our graph horizontally, and K is going to move our graph up and down. Remember those parabolic curves I asked you to take last week? Those are going to be used this week, so thanks for that. And if you didn't take one, you could still get out there and do it. I forgot to post mine. I took mine. I just have to post it. So anyway, vertex form. We're going to start with an equation, and this is basically just completing the square, okay? But not solving, so it's way easier. So remember, our first step for completing the square was to get our linear quadratic term isolated. So step one, linear quadratic term. Okay, x squared minus 6x equals f of x minus 7. Okay, some of you are wondering, where the heck, why is that minus 7? Well, remember, if this is a plus 7 here, so my equation was originally x squared minus 6x plus 7. I just subtract that 7 to get it to the other side, and it ends up as a minus 7. Now, you guessed it, you can complete the square. So, half the linear term, 6 cut in half, squared. Remember that rule, b over 2? Quantity squared, that's how we completed our square. So we're going to throw a plus 9 in here to complete the square. It's not fair if you don't do it to both sides. So my next step was to complete the square. And don't forget to add it to both sides. Half the linear term squared. Now I can factor this. I like this purple, so I'm gonna use this. Remember, when we factor that left-hand side, Sarah Macarena, don't move the 9, okay? When I factor this side, a lot of you picked up on the fact that the factor inside, right, that number inside, minus 3, comes from when you cut your linear term in half, okay? So this is x minus 3, quantity squared, equals, there's a lot of numbers on here, hopefully you could follow along. This is f of x. Now you've got minus 7 and plus 9. So this minus 7 plus 9 is going to combine to give you plus 2. Okay? So my next step down here was to factor, so step 3, yuck, is to factor. And then my last step is to solve for y. Get f of x, or get f of x by itself. So I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. Now, you can't take, that minus 3 is in quarantine, you can't take that 2 away from that minus 3. So it just tacks on at the end. And you'll notice when I do that, it takes on the form that I told you in the beginning. So we've got x minus 3, quantity squared, minus 2, because I got f of x by itself, is equal to f of x. Now I know a lot of you prefer to put the f of x first, and you could do that too. F of x equals x minus 3 squared minus 2. Can you hear Connor whining in the background? He's losing at Mario. So, I digress. From here, this minus 3, you're going to have questions about this, but just trust me right now, I'll get to it this week. The vertex, the reason why this is called vertex form, the vertex of this graph is at positive 3, negative 2. It's always the opposite of what was inside, comma, what is on the outside. We'll talk about why that is this week, okay? If the vertex is at 3, 2, remember a lot of you, I put comments on your work last week, vertex is always a point. It's the turning point. That means our axis of symmetry for this graph is that x equals positive 3, okay?
Oh yeah, only girls.
Fun. So that means that this graph is over here at 1, 2, positive 3, down 2. It's a U-shaped graph over there. And I graphed it on my calculator to show you, but now I'm 6 minutes in. I wanted to originally just be 5 minutes. Can you see that? The original graph, the parent graph, whoa, I'm way close to the camera. That's y equals x squared. That hits at the origin. This is y equals x minus 3 quantity squared minus 2. So we're going to talk about those shifts today. And notice how it was a minimum point. I didn't write that. And you could tell that because it's a positive out in front of that square. All right, happy trails. I'll do a screencast too of this just in case you don't want to see me and hear my annoying voice. But I hope you're all doing well. Talk to you soon. Bye.